most founders don't fail at AI because they lack intelligence. They fail because they misunderstand what AI is doing, and they delegate responsibility to something that cannot carry it. AI didn't break the system. It exposed how many decisions were already being made on trust, shortcuts, and hope. At the surface level, the failure looks technical. Bad prompts, wrong tools, unexpected costs, outputs that sound confident but fall apart under scrutiny. But underneath that, the pattern is consistent. There are 3 failure points that show up again and again: blind trust, context loss, and misplaced delegation. Start with blind trust. AI speaks fluently. It explains itself clearly. It mirrors human reasoning patterns just enough to feel authoritative. And humans are wired to equate fluency with competence. That wiring predates technology. It's how people have always been persuaded by confident speakers, polished reports, and official-looking documents. AI taps directly into that bias. When an answer sounds complete, founders stop asking follow-up questions. They stop verifying sources. They stop checking assumptions. The output feels finished, so the thinking stops early. That's where the damage begins. Because AI is not accountable for being wrong. It doesn't experience consequences. It doesn't carry liability. It doesn't remember when it contradicts itself later. So blind trust turns a probabilistic suggestion into a fixed decision. Not because the answer was correct, but because it sounded settled. The second failure point is context loss. Founders assume AI remembers. They assume it understands the project history, the constraints, the edge cases, the compromises already made. But most AI systems don't carry context forward unless it's explicitly reintroduced. Every session resets the playing field. That means decisions are made in fragments. Advice is given without full background. Strategies are generated without awareness of previous failures. The human remembers the journey. The model only sees the current page. So founders unknowingly ask the same questions in slightly different ways, receive slightly different answers, and treat each one as progress. But without persistent context, there is no continuity. Without continuity, there is no strategy. Only motion. That's how people stay busy without moving forward. The third failure point is misplaced delegation. Founders start handing off thinking they should never outsource. They ask AI to make judgment calls instead of supporting analysis. They let it choose priorities instead of surfacing options. They accept recommendations without defining decision criteria. This happens slowly. First it's drafting emails. Then it's outlining plans. Then it's what would you do in this situation? At that point, AI is no longer a tool. It's being treated like a surrogate decision maker. But AI does not know what matters to you. It doesn't feel trade-offs. It doesn't understand long-term consequences beyond statistical patterns. Delegation without accountability always fails, whether it's human or machine. AI amplifies that failure because it never pushes back. It never says, "This choice will cost you later." It just keeps generating plausible paths. So founders confuse responsiveness with responsibility. The pattern repeats across industries. People let AI write proposals they don't fully understand, generate code they can't audit, summarize research they haven't read, draft policies they won't enforce. And when things break, the failure is blamed on the tool. But the tool did exactly what it was designed to do. The real issue is that AI exposes weak decision hygiene. Founders who succeed with AI do something different. They treat AI as an assistant, not an authority. They preserve records instead of trusting memory. They separate generation from verification. They keep judgment in human hands. They don't ask, "What should I do?" They ask, "What are the options? What assumptions are being made? What would break this plan?" They design systems where AI output is always reviewable, comparable, and reversible. Because once a decision becomes irreversible, probability is no longer good enough. AI doesn't fail founders. Founders fail when they stop owning the thinking. The advantage doesn't come from better prompts. It comes from better boundaries. When AI is treated as a probability engine instead of a truth engine, it becomes leverage. When it's treated as a decision maker, it becomes a liability. That difference decides who scales and who quietly collapses under confident sounding mistakes.